So in this video, I'll be showing you this modification that I made for my Banana Pi M2.5 single board computer. So I just used a basically Raspberry Pi Zero case, just a standard Raspberry Pi Zero case, and put a top on it. So basically you can't put the top on this if you just use the case in its standard form, because of the fact that when you use the case without the standoffs, then obviously the CPU is right there, but for the CPU for the Raspberry Pi Zero, it's right there. So for the Raspberry Pi Zero, it's more to the left. For the Banana Pi M2.5, it's more a little bit to the right, so obviously it won't fit. So the way you solve this problem is by just using standoffs, and this allows you to put a top on it. So that's pretty much it. And I also put rubber pads on the bottom of the case. So as you can see in the front, there's 2 rubber pads, and in the back there's 1. So that allows you to put it on the surface without marring the surface, because these screws would mar the surface, right? Obviously. And this is the other side of it. So definitely it's better than not having the top on it. So this is the way that you can get the top on, basically. And the way I use this is I just put a small table fan right next to it, like right on the right side, and it blows air this way. So the air goes in here and then it goes out that way. So it keeps it a lot cooler than before when I have the fan just point like down on it. For some reason now I'm getting temperatures as low as 40 degrees Celsius with this mod that I made, with this new mod using a fan. Probably in the future I will try to put maybe a 40 millimeter fan on the other side of this, blowing air this way. Like here, I'll just try to maybe use some kind of rubber bands to keep it in place or something, and then buy another power supply thing to power it. So basically a USB power supply with a 3-pin connector to it, so to power this up, so it would have some kind of a active cooling instead of using a table fan. And you do need active cooling to cool this board or CPU, because it does get really hot. And I also put a thermal pad between the CPU heatsink and the CPU heatsink. It's sandwiched between the thermal pad is sandwiched between the CPU and the CPU heatsink. As you can see, this little white thing right there, that's the CPU thermal pad. You do have to put a thermal pad on there. For the case that I got, it did not come with any thermal pads for the CPU heatsink, and I just put that in there, and that keeps it cooler, of course, having a medium like that. Or you could have used thermal paste, but thermal paste is not ideal for this, because there's nothing that will hold it in place like a CPU. You have a mounting screws to put a CPU heatsink, right? This does not. It's just being held with adhesives, basically. Yeah, so you could put a fan here if you tie it in some way. But I think I'll make that video in the future after I get my connector thing, power USB to 3-pin band connector thing. So anyways, thanks for watching.